Hi, I'm David Gregg with the Rhode Island Natural History Survey. I know our fans out there are wondering why we haven't put out any videos recently. Well, it was summer, there was field work, there was traveling and vacations, and now we're back in the saddle and we're going to start with videos again. This first video is the recording of the April meeting of the Rhode Island Woodland Partnership. It features presentations by Laural, Witri and Kelly Wishart. They're with agencies that are providing new services for foresters and farmers who are having life crises. This is an employee assistance program with funding from federal and state sources to try to provide more support for people who make their living in the forest or on a farm. The Rhode Island Natural History Survey presents videos to showcase the animals, plants, geology, and natural systems that surround us, and the people and organizations working to understand and conserve them.
Well, welcome to the April 2022 Rhode Island Woodland Partnership meeting. Great to have you all here on Zoom. And we're going to hear from Laural Witri, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, about the Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Network, in particular, opportunities for the forestry and forest conservation community, since that's what the partnership represents. But since we usually do at the beginning of our meetings, so to give everyone just give everyone a chance to introduce themselves. We'll go around the room as it were, and then we'll hand the floor over to you. But my name is Christopher Riley. I'm the co-coordinator of the Woodland Partnership, and I divide my time between a part-time extension and research role with URI and my practice, Sweet Birch Consulting. Okay, you want to go next?
Sure. Kate Sales, the co-coordinator of the Woodland Partnership and the director of the Rhode Island Land Trust Council. I'm going to toss it to Wolf.
Wolf Mueller, and I am a consulting forester here in Rhode Island, and a recent addition to the industry here as of last year. And I've been to a couple of these meetings, so glad I can make this one. I'll throw it off to Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Tremblay, forestry consultant, and also the outreach coordinator for RIWP, which is a Forest Landowners Association, and kind of an inactive ag mediation person through CMCRI.
Laurel, why don't you go next?
Sure. Laural Witri. I'm here with CMCRI, the Center for Mediation and Collaboration. And I will tell you all about our programming shortly. But I just moved back home to Rhode Island after living in New Hampshire for several years. I'm so excited to be here.
Kelly, why don't you go next?
I would love to go next. I'm Kelly Wishart. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Coastline EAP, and like Laural, thrilled to be here, and we'll tell you a whole lot more in just a few minutes. And who's next? Scott? There's two Scotts.
Hi, I'm Scott Millar. I'm with Grow Smart Rhode Island. And I'm sort of under the weather. I got COVID at the State House last week and still struggling with it. So I'm going to listen in, but I might have to check out early. I'm going to turn it over to David.
I'm David Gregg. I am the director of the Rhode Island Natural History Survey, and I will send it to Cindy.
Hi everyone, I'm Cindy Kolick. I am the program coordinator for the Cooperative Agricultural Pest Survey Program with the Division of Agriculture in DEM.
Paul Dolan.
Paul Dolan, Area Director, RC&D Council, and coordinator for the Enviathon. And I, like Scott, had caught COVID, and I've had that this week. So I guess everyone's at the point of sharing.
Oh,
But did you get yours at a cool place like the State House?
No. I could probably got it at the cool place like the district.
Yeah,
Right.
I've heard. It's gone around over
Yeah.
there. Scott Rurin.
Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm Scott Rurin, Director of Conservation at Audubon Society, Rhode Island. No COVID here yet.
Fern.
Hi, everybody. Fern Graves, RIDEM Stewardship Program Coordinator in Division of Forestry and Agriculture.
Did we do it? Is that everybody?
Great. I think we did. Well, we can move into the presentation and discussion portion of our meeting. And you think there's only limited awareness of the stress assistance network among foresters and forest conservationists at this point. So this is a really timely opportunity to learn more about it. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to Laural and Kelly in whatever order you're going to handle things, and we will hear more.
Thank you so much. And I understand the lack of awareness because it is brand new. So you haven't been missing out on anything. This is just something that has just started. So I'm going to share my screen quickly, and let's see here. Just go through a couple. I just have 4 slides to show you. So this is a brand new program with funding from the USDA. DEM is working with the Center for Mediation and Collaboration to launch this stress assistance network. And so a little background, this is happening in states all over the country, and everybody gets the same chunk of money. So Rhode Island is getting the same amount of money as California. And so it can go a really long way here. And so DEM really wanted to make sure that we were going to be covering as many people as we could with this network. And so they wanted to include forestry and fisheries as well, which is really specific to this state. We kind of have the broadest reach of any of these programs out there right now. And so, yeah, we have a lot of challenges going on in these industries and in these communities. And so we're in the process of designing resources around how to reduce stress, but we also want as much input from, we're calling it the FFF communities as possible as we make our way forward. So the program currently has kind of 3 main facets. The first one is this employee assistance program, which Kelly will be able to talk to you about. That includes up to 12 free counseling sessions, in addition to a host of other support resources. We're also conducting a needs assessment survey, which will be in the form of an electronic, incentivized electronic survey, as well as doing a focus group and some stakeholder interviews to really just determine what are the root causes of stress in the forestry, fisheries, and farming communities. What resources are already out there to help and what is missing. And then we also do have additional funding for direct support of these communities that we are working in collaboration to figure out what is the best way to steward that money in these communities. And so there's a lot of questions that have come up around who's covered. What do you mean by forestry? And so this is the list that we've gotten from DEM. So we have foresters, forestry workers, staff, and their families. We're really hoping that this can be a pretty holistic coverage, specifically with the EAP. So if the partner or children of a forester is having a struggle or a crisis or any sort of thing going on that we can be helpful with, they would be covered under this program. And so you can see the rest of the people that would fall under the forestry list here. And I'm sure you all may have questions about this as well that I can always take back to DEM. But we're looking for entities to be based in Rhode Island who are deriving an income or subsistence from their operations and who are or if they're not deriving any sort of income or subsistence, they're providing some sort of community access service. We can't cover volunteers, but we can cover part-time seasonal workers, interns, apprentices, and we're also open to discussion around, needs outside of these categories. Let's see. And then, so some of the things that we're going to be providing support through either the EAP with Kelly, with Coastline, or through our own programming and partnerships and network can look like retirement planning, succession planning, tax assistance, employee training, access to grants and funding, support with childcare, elder care, counseling, substance use support, and hopefully a peer network. And so, because we're so much in the beginning stages, we're hoping to hear as many voices to shape this program as possible. So we do have a wonderful steering committee that meets every other month. We also have several working groups that are helping us develop different parts of this grant. And so we would love to have any of you join in on any of those conversations. You can also just provide an email address for us to keep you posted on what is going on. We're hoping to have some listening sessions and info sessions about what's coming down the pipeline, and also just to promote our really horribly timed survey that will be going out during the worst time for everyone, which is the summer. So apologies about that, but it's what we got to do with the timing of the grant. So yeah, that's the end of my quick presentation on what we're doing. And so I can just kind of open it up to questions before I pass it on to Kelly, and she can speak more to exactly what the employee assistance program is going to be offering.
Laural, I just want to jump in really quick. So I've been serving sort of representing the Land Trust Council and the Woodland Partnership through some of these conversations. And I think that the really important part to bring to the Woodland Partnership is that we want to make sure that all of our forestry folks that could utilize this assistance are identified. And like, I've done my best to try to make sure all of your organizations are on the list. But if I don't know offhand all of the wood products folks or the loggers who I think are the folks that could maybe utilize these services the most. I think it would be really great to, in the background or at this meeting, start thinking through who else we're forgetting, who else we haven't identified yet to be participants in this service. So I just want to throw that out there.
Does anyone have any questions for me about, some of the services or who would be considered covered under this?
I do have a couple of questions. One is how long the program will last. And then secondly, you mentioned the community, access programs or being a part of that, which I can certainly, understand if you're a farmer or a fisher, but wondering how that might apply to someone in the forestry community.
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is a one-year grant with the hopes of this being an ongoing program. And so we just signed the contract with Coastline, for example, in March. And so that will be going until March of next year with the hopes of finding either partnerships, funding sources, or continuing on working with the USDA around this Farm Stress Assistance Network USDA grant. So the hopes is that this will be a long-term project in the state. And then in terms of, the applicability in forestry, I think that's why we're at this meeting, and also why we have Kate on our steering committee, is because we want to know how this can be applicable to forestry. And there is the industry aspect of it where, there's stresses that arise around the weather and business transition. And then there's just the basic human things that can come up in any family, in any scenario. So I think what the intentions of this grant are to provide some resources to industries that historically may not have had access to them before. Does that answer your question, Chris?
Yeah, I think so. Or I guess I was wondering if, or a requirement for participating, say, if it was a farmer who's giving to a community food bank or a seafood products bank, and we don't have anything that's quite the same, there's some firewood assistance, I guess, but there.
That's fine. That's only included there. So there's no requirement to be doing that kind of thing. That's only in there for, say, there's a community garden who they're not deriving income from it, but we want to be able to cover, for example, an urban community gardener who is not going to have the access to farmland, but is providing a service in their community. So it's not, that part is not as directly applicable to forestry as far as I can tell. I think that the firewood assistance is a great example of how that could be translated, though.
You might have some people who are doing tree, like what we just heard about the other month about tree planting in Central Falls. Some of those people are foresters who are doing that, and then other tree work, I would imagine. That would be
Yeah, I think if they identify as a forester, it doesn't matter where they're working, and I think we just can't cover volunteer work. But at the same time, the coastline, which Kelly will talk about, this EAP, if someone finds that number and they need the help, coastline won't be turning them away because they're, for whatever reason, they may not fit under one of those categories. If they need help, they're going to get it through the EAP.
Laurel, I'll make sure I share that information for Providence Neighborhood Planting Program, as well as the program through Groundwork that David just mentioned. I'll get that to you. Thanks for bringing that up, David. Cindy, did you have a question?
Yeah, but I think it got answered between David's question, but I just so say an arborist works under a public, they work for a city or a town, they would also be covered even if they're under an umbrella of a diverse, they do a lot of different things.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, cool.
There's going to come up, there's lots of gray areas that are going to come up. And I think our intention is, and Kelly can speak to this too, they work with huge companies and they only get, 6% of employees to actually ever call. So we want to have it be intentionally a little bit vague and gray, because if people need the help, we want them to call.
Oh, yeah, good to know. Thank you.
And I guess, go ahead, Greg.
I was going to say, I had I guess a sort of a related question, and maybe Kelly will go into it, but yeah, I agree. I think your challenge is going to be making sure that you get utilization, not the other way around. And so, but the other question I had was, this is an enormously diverse suite of, kind of things that you're potentially offering. How does the triage or whatever, gatekeeping or whatever happen? Who does that? And maybe Kelly can describe that. Or
yeah, Kelly will definitely get into that. And I just want to say that we're also putting together guides to provide to Coastline, where they will have a list of forestry related resources that already exist. And they'll have a list of agricultural resources and fisheries resources. So they can say, well, actually there's this grant, and actually there's this free program called the Carrot Project, or actually, have you heard of this thing? So we will hopefully be equipping them with industry specific knowledge, in addition to the host of services that they already are experts in, being mental health and social services and housing and lots of different more crisis related issues. But I'm sure Kelly can touch on that process as well once we move over.
There are a lot of, in the wood industry, loggers working out in the woods. They're mostly independent contractors.
Mhm.
There's a few logging companies that actually have employees. I don't know if they provide health insurance coverage or not, but a lot of these independent contractors, they're out there on a limb, with probably limited insurance coverage. And RIFCO has a wood industry committee. One of our board members is an arborist logger, and I think this would be maybe in coordination with Fern and the woods operators that she has contact with, that we could help get the word out of the availability of this kind of assistance. And some of these guys could use a lot of help.
Excellent. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, my email address is on the bottom there, so please feel free, anyone, to reach out with further questions afterwards as well, or if you want to set up a meeting if you have other groups that meet, I'd be happy to speak about this as well. And if there aren't any other questions, I'll pass it on to you, Kelly. Here,
Okay,
stop
great.
sharing my screen.
I will share my screen. We do like our PowerPoints. That's what we do. So let's see. There it is. Okay, share. And let's get it from the slideshow beginning so that you can actually see it from, nope, not from current. Yikes. I am a professional. I do this for a living. So I'm really grateful to be able to have this conversation today with you all. I have been at Coastline just a year now as the COO. And we are really excited to be partnering with the center. It was just about a year ago that the COO at the center, Tricia, and I met to talk about how we might partner with each other, because we knew each other from other lives in our careers. So in true Rhode Island fashion, we wanted to work together again. And this idea of the FRSAN, the network, came up, and I said, yeah, let's give it a whirl and see what we can do to support a less supported group or groups in Rhode Island. I just want to share a couple of basics about employee assistance in case you're not familiar with it. If you've worked for really any size organization and have had health insurance covered, you probably had an EAP available to you as well. So EAPs, and ours specifically, we offer in the moment support when someone's in crisis, counseling referrals, substance use or substance misuse support, legal financial referrals, elder care and child care referrals, referrals for health, nutrition, or career, and what we call convenience referrals, things like, I need a dog walker. How do I get a new primary care physician? Things like that. We have tools that we also provide to an organization, and in this case, it could be your whole network, things that will help those who are in supervisory capacities supporting folks in the network. We have brochures, we work with folks on things like last chance agreements. If someone's got, really big issues and they're kind of getting ready to take disciplinary action or terminate an employee, we'll help them figure that out. We certainly help folks with managing impaired employees by giving them things like observation checklists and so forth. We work with companies, public, private, nonprofit, for-profit, anywhere from 4 employees to 4,000 employees. So the opportunity to work with a network like this is kind of exciting, because we know the benefits for folks who don't, like someone said, they may not have access to good health insurance, but this kind of support could be what makes or breaks their success, you know, as a human and as someone who's either running a business or trying to get a business off the ground or what have you. So one of the things we know about employee assistance, and we'll use that term fairly loosely in this conversation, obviously, that folks who have opportunity and access to an EAP are those that are less likely to be absent from work. Work-related injuries are less likely to occur. And we can help employees return more quickly if they have had an accident or injury, because we offer them ongoing support and conversation and connection. The other thing in this case, in every case for our employees, but in this case for the network, everybody who is defined within the network or identified within the network and their family members, regardless of where their family members live. So they might have a family member that doesn't live with them, that lives in Connecticut, that you know, is only living with them for 6 months, that kind of thing. Regardless, the family members are also eligible to participate and have access to the resources of the EAP. All they have to do is call. We're going to have a dedicated phone number for you. We will know that when we see that phone number ring, we will know that it's from a connection made through the network. Folks can get help with all the things that Laural mentioned earlier, as well as things like grief, stress at home or work, anxiety, addictions, depression, financial, relationship conflicts, and DOT assessments. And by that, we mean if someone's required to be part of a drug testing program in their workplace, in any of these members of the network, we can also do DOT assessments. That's something that we don't need to spend a whole lot of time in. But I want to reiterate, though, that these are confidential conversations. We have them in an unlimited fashion. If someone needs help today, tomorrow, as well as every day next week, they can call again and again and again. We do offer a fair number of features that we like to share with folks. There's more than one way to get access to us. You can phone call. We have a web-based chat. We have texting, and we have online web-based services. Our staff here are all master's level clinicians. So when someone calls in, they are speaking to a highly qualified person right off the bat. When we are, I know Laural mentioned that we're going to offer paid for mental health sessions. If someone needs that, we've decided that based on the funding, we can offer 12 paid sessions with a therapist of some sort. And we will make that match. We will find the person. We're not going to just say, oh, you're calling and you need this therapist. Well, here's some names, you go find them. We make the match. We find the therapist based on the needs of the person who's calling in. And we try, if they do have health insurance, not only will we pay for the 12 sessions, but if they need more than 12 sessions, we'll make sure that the therapist that they're seeing is someone who's on their insurance panel, so that they don't have to work with someone for 12 sessions and then go find someone else. We have lots of trainings on our website. They're quick hits. They're easy to watch, whether you're watching them on your cell phone or on a tablet or on your computer. One of the things that we do is we're talking about whole organizations. So we're really, if someone calls from the Audubon Society, we want everyone in the Audubon Society to have access, right, to this. So we want the whole organization to experience the benefit of consultations, of orientations, of health fairs, and that kind of thing. So if the network or if you as a subgroup of that network have a benefit fair or have a health fair for your members, we'll come and we'll be at the health fair. We also do trauma response service, and that I think is one of the things that is most helpful for organizations and individuals. When there is a tragedy, when there is a traumatic event, whether it's a death, an accident, an injury, we respond to that situation within 24 to 48 hours with on-site clinical support to help people work through that trauma and offer follow-up on a regular basis. So let's say there is some sort of traumatic accident, you know, in the, God forbid, one of the foresters, you know, misuses or has an accident with some piece of equipment, and it's tragic and it's traumatic. It's traumatic not just for the person, but anybody who was working with them or who knows them. And so we'll offer that trauma response service to the network as well. So for this network, again, immediately we have unlimited contact with master's level clinicians. We have a 24-hour, 365 days a year staffed system. During what we might call normal business days here locally, you're going to get one of us in our Warwick office. When it's after our business hours, you're going to get one of our call answering partners, and they will work through the same issues and put that person in touch with a clinician. And then the next day we'll follow up locally. Again, we have consultation services. If someone's having trouble and they're looking for some help, maybe they need a legal counsel on dissolving their business or starting a business, or there's family law involved, we can refer people for that. Again, it's a qualified referral. We're not going to have the person calling us, we're not going to give them a list of things to do. We're going to do the heavy lifting. So again, it's the paid treatment sessions, outpatient behavioral health treatment. So typically with some of our other client companies, we offer just a 3-session model. But we felt like in the conversation in developing this, that if someone only had 3 sessions, that may not, especially if they don't have health insurance, that's really not going to cut it. And so we are offering 12 paid sessions, which really is like once a week for 3 months to speak with a therapist on a regular basis. And that's up to, anybody can use up to 12 sessions. And that is anybody, again, if it's open to everybody in the household, everybody in that person's family. So someone's mom may call, someone's sister may call, and we'll do our best to work with them to find a treatment provider that that is acceptable and a match for the person calling. We do live monthly wellness sessions. If someone has access to, you know, Zoom on their phone, they can certainly sit in on a wellness session, particularly during COVID. That was helpful to our business partners. But in terms of the what do I want to say? People are spread out, right? In your worlds, in the worlds of fishing, forestry, and farming. Everybody's not in one place. So they can access Zoom on a cell phone or a tablet, and they can take a half hour, 20 minutes to do the meditation session or the breathing session that we're offering. They're pretty well received. We do a monthly newsletters that we'll push out through the network and make accessible to all of you, as well as our app that that we have. So I just want to jump back because I know that was a lot in a very short period of time. But the question, I think, David, you may have mentioned, like, what's the process, right? Someone calls, what happens? So what happens is someone will call, they will hear a very nice voice on the other end say, thank you for calling Coastline. How can we help you today? And the person will let us know what they're looking for, and they'll get connected to one of those master's level clinicians right away. That person is then going to find out, do you have time to talk to me right now? We want to have like a half-hour conversation to see what's going on and how we can help you. We will do an assessment of some sort to assess what the call is about and how we can best help. So someone may call and say, I need a divorce lawyer. But in the conversation with the clinician finds out that you need a divorce lawyer because of X, Y, and Z that's going on. Let's get you some help with that too. We're not going to just say, okay, here's the lawyer, give him a call. But we want to make sure that, you know, that the stress of daily life is something that gets helped along the way. That's really the focus. Our focus, particularly over the past year, has been on helping people do and be their best at work and at home. That's kind of our rallying cry of late. So once someone has that assessment done, we'll determine, are they eligible for, do they want a referral to a qualified therapist? We'll make that happen. Typically, we can make that happen more quickly than an individual making 100 calls to try and find a therapist right now. That is incredibly difficult, but we partner with some of the behavioral health centers and practices in the state that prioritize our clients when we call, which is great. So if nothing else, that in and of itself could really help some folks, I think. And then once they have a chance to have their needs met, we'll check back in with them after a few weeks. How's it going? You still doing okay? Is there anything else we can do for you? So there's all kinds of follow-up that happens and support that happens. So I hope that helps, David, answer the question of like, so what happens? But I'm happy to answer any other questions.
I think that does answer the question, that and what Laurel said about getting some of the sort of industry specific materials together.
Yeah, and we'll have one or two of our staff that will be kind of our in-house experts. So when a call comes in and they say they got the information from, you know, the network, we're going to ship that call to one or two people. We have eight clinicians on staff who take all these calls, but I think it would be more beneficial if we have some point people.
One sort of specific area now, you know, thinking of a business, say, and the owner or the person is, you know, they have to have COVID, so they can't attend to their business for the, you know, for that time, and they still need to deal with things. Is that something that this program could provide support for?
I think we could. It depends on what kind of support the person's looking for, right? So are they looking for someone to talk to because they're frustrated by all that? Are they looking for someone to sit in their seat and do their work while they're out? Not sure we can do that. But I do think that COVID obviously hits everyone. And when COVID hit, all of our staff went remote. They didn't even know what that meant at the time, because everything was done in person or by phone. So we are able to obviously do telehealth kinds of approaches. So if someone wants an in-person conversation, but they have COVID, then we can do it this way as well. So there are a lot of options. We'll go to people if we can. People can come here if they wish. We have 4 satellite offices that we can use throughout Rhode Island to meet people where they're at, as opposed to having them, you know, in Rhode Island fashion. You want me to come all the way to Warwick? We don't want that. We want people to be able to be served as efficiently and as comfortably as possible.
I have a question about how we can be helpful internally to make sure that, like, especially folks from the wood products industry know that these services are available. I know that individually in our own organizations, we have somewhat the ability to get the word out. I just want to make sure that the folks who need access to these services are hearing multiple times that they are available from multiple organizations who are all on the same page. Because this is just incredible. Like this is an opportunity that I've not seen come around before, and especially for those folks that are underinsured or don't know that this is an option for them, and to the extent that it also includes attorneys and financial planning and all sorts of stuff. I want to know how we can be helpful as the partnership and in our individual organizations.
Yeah, I think that that's something Laurel and I have started talking about already. How are we going to roll this out? How are we going to market this in the most effective way? And I'll go back to that idea that Laurel mentioned earlier about utilization, right? You can have a really big organization like, Lifespan, and with thousands of employees, and we get maybe 50 in a year who use the service. And that's after multiple emails, health fairs, direct conversations, orientation sessions. So I think one of the things that needs to be considered is what communication strategies do you already use to push information out to folks? Maybe it means more in-person kinds of approaches to things. Are there logical meetings like this, membership meetings that exist that we could do quick 15-minute presentations on? But I do think it requires a communication plan that's multi-pronged. There's no easy button, but I think there are logical and naturally occurring moments in the work every day that we need to capitalize on. I don't know the nature of the work enough to say what those are for this group. I can say that, if there are big events coming up that brings the community together, let's get in front of people at a big event and have a table and have the, those kinds of things. We have, for our partners, we have created email campaigns that can be branded and shipped out. So there's not a whole lot of reinventing the wheel in that respect.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure who it was. It might have been Cindy who said something about the employee who's an arborist for a city or a town. We actually have cities and towns as client companies already. So if that arborist is on the payroll of the city of Warwick, they already have access to this kind of thing. So
Okay,
it's great, right? And if they don't, and they're not sure, when they call in and they say, I got this number from the network, and we say, oh, where do you work? And they say the city of Warwick, we know on our end, we're going to jot them down in the city of Warwick as an employee who's accessing the service.
Okay. So that would count like towards anybody in the city of Warwick, or just people in the field of like being an arborist in the city of Warwick?
Oh, no. The city of Warwick is an EAP client of Coastline.
Oh, okay.
So all city employees, fire, police, and school department
Okay.
are all, and the town. So like in the town of Bristol, the town of Narragansett, the town of North Smithfield, these are already partners with us.
Are all towns and cities in Rhode Island
not
partnered?
all.
Okay.
Not all. Not for Coastline. They may have other EAPs.
Okay.
But we like to think we're the best. Yeah. So there are other opportunities. And just so you know that if you were in an organization, let's say like Southside Community Land Trust, and wanted an EAP for your organization, depending on the number of employees you have, that's something that could cost you $2,500 to $3,300 a year. So it behooves, the network, and it behooves us to get everybody well aware of this is an opportunity that didn't come along every day, like Kate said, and we want to give people the chance to use it. So is there anything else I can tell you about? I know you have other items on your
Yeah.
agenda.
This is just really, I don't know, this is a really awesome program and service, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. Just
Thanks.
say that.
One of the things we can do through Laural, and we can send you a login so you can go noodle around on our website if you'd like to. When you go to coastlineeap.com, you get to a point where you get to our landing page, and up at the top it says log in. When you log in, you get the employee experience or the end user experience. The first page is really about our marketing more than it is our service to folks.
It was
So
nice
happy
to
to share.
It was nice to meet you, Kelly. You work with my wife, Terry,
Holy cow, that's right.
because it's Rhode
Woo!
Island.
I love Terry.
This
Oh,
world
yeah. And thanks
is
for the
so
Girl Scout
small.
cookies. That's how I got my Girl Scout cookies this year.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Do you know that I used to work with Trish Driscoll at Camp Fuller back in the 90s?
Back in the 90s. So you
Yep.
know my nephew, Dan Wishart. You might know
Yep.
David Wishart.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
This
These are my
small.
people. It is. It's all true. And so in that regard, if I can do anything beyond this for any of you, please feel free to reach out. Happy to help you.
Neat.
Laural, you had mentioned how you're hoping to sort of use this kickstart into making it into a permanent program. So I was hoping you could talk about that a little bit, or how that would work.
Yeah, we got our work cut out for us there. We're trying to both get it off the ground and make it an ongoing program at the same time during the busiest time of year for all the people we're trying to serve. So really exciting, daunting, fun task. But we've gotten such great support. Like our steering committee has about 25, give or take, members on it from all these different industries. And the need has been really expressed through those representatives. So it's very clear that it's there. The need is there and the interest is there. And so I'm hoping that in leveraging those partnerships, we can really start to think strategically about how to go forward, because it is scary to me to think about all of this disappearing. But I think I'm trying to imagine it that it won't, and that the lasting, most important pieces of this program will be sustained through those partnerships specifically. But that, we are ears open for any ideas and collaborations and ways that anyone else can envision this being a long-term program.
And I think too that it's we have a lot of opportunity to learn from other states who've done this and have sustained it, because I do believe that the FRSAN's been around a while, right? This is not the first year of funding across the country. And so there may need to be some advocacy done, either through legislation or through partnerships with our delegation to ensure that funding for networks like this continues.
Absolutely. A great example to look at is Farm First Vermont. They've been doing this work for a long time. And I would recommend taking a look at their website. It's kind of the gold standard in the Northeast of where we're trying to head with this program. And I should share too that we're calling it Land and Sea Together instead of FRSAN. So that'll be the branding and name that we're going to be creating over the next week.
I like it. Great. Awesome. Well, if you guys are all set with me, I'll go on to 83 other things that need to be done before 5 o'clock.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you all.
You too.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
thanks to you both for joining us. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. Feel free to reach out afterwards with any questions, and we'll send over some resources as well.
Thanks so much.
I
Feel
hope
free,
we've left
Laurel,
you-
if you want to stay on, feel free to jump, whatever you want to do.
Okay, yeah, I'll probably jump. But I would say if anyone's interested in joining in steering committee or working group meetings too, they're a pretty low commitment. Kate can attest to that.
I've
and we
been
do
feeling like I
compensate.
haven't participated enough this week, and Neil is just like, everyone else is doing a great job, so that's good.
No, you're doing great. And we do compensate organizations $50 per person per meeting. So just to kind of appreciate your time and the effort. So, but I'll leave you with that. I know you have other things to cover. So thank you so much for all of your time today, everyone. It was really a pleasure to meet all of you. And I'm so excited to find out more about all the things you're doing.
Thanks. See ya.
Thank you.
Well, interesting to learn about that program and all the many different ways that could be applied in Airfield. At this point in the meeting, we'll turn our attention to the policy and legislative update section.
Mhm.
And some of you are, more active on that front than I am to dive into that. Kate, do you want to
Sure.
start at frame?
I can just kind
or-
of give you, like the outline of what's been going on. Outside of my little, our land trust conservation easement related bills, there's been some hearings recently on solar siting. That hearing was last week where Scott caught COVID, unfortunately. The hearing to move solar incentives off of conservation opportunity areas. There's going to be a sub A that's being discussed in the background to switch it from conservation opportunity areas to the core forests, just because it makes it a little more clear. As you may recall, conservation opportunity areas include the natural heritage layer with the points and buffers. And I think that there was some pushback from solar and labor seeing some of those points and buffers on the Providence Place Mall and not really quite understanding why that was included. I think it's headed in the right direction in terms of compromises and discussions amongst the industry folks and the advocates, which is where we need it to be to move it forward. So that's as far as I know what's going on. The Land Trust Council is not weighing in on that legislation, but I am following it pretty closely. So good news there. I just saw that the old growth forest bill was introduced in the Senate. So there hasn't been a hearing scheduled. They don't really know what's going on there, but it's been heard on the House side and is now been introduced in the Senate side. Trying to think what else I don't know, anyone from DEM, have there been any updates on calling the Forest Conservation Commission together? I don't think we've heard anything in a while. Maybe not. Trying to think of anything else forest related. I think that that's probably it for legislation. Those are the big ones.
Forgive my ignorance, that old growth bill, what does that entail?
It's a prohibition on cutting trees over 100 years old that requires some increment borers. Yeah. So in the previous iteration of the old growth bill, most of the environmental organizations and advocates, Natural History Survey, Audubon, Land Trust Council, all requested that it be held for further study, recognizing that the Forest Conservation Commission is meant to be called together to identify important forests and think through things like funding in that regard. So I think that it'll probably be the same on the Senate side, asking for it to be held. And yeah, that's sort of it. David, do you have anything to add, or Scott? I think that was what our take was in the background on that. None of us clearly are saying that we don't think old growth is important. I think that that's the part that sort of got lost in translation. It's just that how we approach it with prohibitions is not we don't agree, and we have a mechanism to sort of work through this. So
Another
Comment?
significant part of the bill was setting aside the majority of
Yeah.
DEM held lands from management.
Yeah, and I think Scott Millar is not here right now. I think he
Yeah.
signed off. But I think we're backing away from the opportunity areas language.
yeah, we're moving it to old growth, or not old
Right.
growth, to
Core,
Forest.
right?
core forest. Yes.
Yeah, that's what Priscilla wanted me to bring up too, when it was time. Right, we're going more to core because of the hot button issue of old growth.
Yeah, and it is, there seems to be a lot of conversations that are happening on the solar siting side that are really positive, and that's good. That's where we want it to go. The other part is the bond. The bond's been heard on the House and the Senate side. It includes money for conservation, for the state open space and the local open space grant program. The Land Trust Council and most of our organizations do not think it's enough money. So we've been working in the background with DEM and with our legislators to try to get more money added to those programs, as well as ensure that there is money for farmland conservation. The budget currently does not have any, and that is a big deal, knowing that real estate markets and land values are at the point where we all of a sudden have all these willing landowners, these farmers who we've been approaching for years and years, are finally ready to think about the long-term conservation of their land. And we are running through the remaining $900,000 that is in that pot from previous bond issues. And once ALPC is out of money, it's out of money for 2 years, and we've lost a lot of opportunities. And it's not just about making sure the farmland program is funded. It's also the fact that we double and nearly triple that money with our partnership organizations working together to make those deals happen. So it's not just that it's not in, that we don't have funding, it's that we don't have funding and we are going to lose all this match as well, federal and otherwise. So stay tuned on the bond. I think that that's, for at least the Land Trust Council, that's like our biggest push right now, is to make sure we see increased funding. And I know all of us in this forestry world, we really need to be advocating for forests as a climate change resiliency tool. It's a missed opportunity. Everyone wants to talk about Act on Climate, and it should be a part of the conversation. Land conservation, compared to a lot of the other stuff we're talking about, is cheap. We can double again and triple using federal and partnership funds to get some of these deals done. So I think that that's where we're coming from there.
As for the Forest Conservation Commission, as a couple of weeks ago, TJ was talking about going ahead and he's been waiting on the Department of Administration to make their appointment, but he had said something about he was done waiting, that they said, go ahead and schedule your meeting, hopefully we'll get somebody appointed by the time they have the meeting. But I haven't heard about it since then from him, so he hasn't scheduled anything.
I'd be happy to send him an email and just saying, let's pick a date. I think it would be unfortunate if we didn't at least have the first meeting during this legislative session, to sort of like at least look at each other and say, what do we need to do and what is our charge? So.
Yeah, the legislators are expecting us to address this old growth forest issue as one of the first things that, because there's current legislation, there's a movement afoot, so to speak.
Correct. So that's it. I guess I'm any other policy people here. I'm learning. Everyone keeps telling me it's about to get crazy, and I don't know how that's possible. Bye, David. Thanks for letting us know about BioBlitz.
Yes, thanks for joining us.
Kate, I can act like a policy person speaking for Priscilla.
Thank you.
Couldn't attend. She wanted me to mention what you already did, but the second thing she wanted to mention is ECRI's Earth Day. at the State House on May 4th at 3 o'clock. For any of you who might be interested. I'm sure there'll be lots of emails and advertising about it.
Yeah, so that's like it's a lobby day. So it's ECRI's opportunity to set up tables for our individual organizations and get the legislators and grab them and tell them all about what we are working on this year. Thanks, Scott.
That's it for policy for me.
Hey,
Thanks, Priscilla.
Kate, rate them, remind them it's also Arbor Day, which is actually next Friday.
Arbor Day is next Friday. This is what, May 4th? May
Right.
4th is ECRI's.
Earth
Yeah.
Day thing, yeah.
Will do. Sounds good.
All right, well, moving on the agenda, we thought it would be helpful to, revisit the topic of, the Woodlands, partnerships strategic plan and, briefly and how, we want to proceed with that. We're all on the same page that, don't want or need a big revision, process, and we're, happy with, and moving forward with a lot of the elements of the plan. However, it was a 2017 to 21 plan, and now we're in 2022. We had a sort of a focus session during a meeting last October in which we focused on updating some of the activities, and I think we could also stand to update some of the SMART goals for the policy and economics focus area. And we would want to do the same, for the stewardship section of the plan, I think. And then we're also considering, what to do with the education focus area, which we spent less of our energy on over that 5-year period. And let's see if I can share can I share my screen? I could just show, what we came up with.
Go right ahead. You are co-host.
Okay. I'll just to show you. Hang on, whoops, that's not what I want to share. So here's just some focusing on the see the policy and economic section of the plan, and these are our the activities that we had come up with for this period with some of the SMART objectives up above them, which I think we would want to update here too, since things have changed during that time. And I'll bring up the list of activities that were proposed. Can everybody see that, or do I need to shift to another view?
No, you're good.
Okay. So, I thought we came up with a pretty, good list that, worked into 8 here. And, certainly we'd want to have, broader, input, on how to move forward on these than just, 8 or 10 people. So we could potentially, put them out, so people could, vote on them in a, some sort of survey device. We could, discuss and, try to come to consensus, potentially at the Prudence Island retreat that we have, scheduled for September. And then, this is just the policy and economics section. We could do something similar, or set aside a portion of the meeting to try to come up with similar stewardship activities. And I was just interested in, the thoughts of those of you who are here today about what you think would be a most productive way to go forward with that. I can stop sharing my screen. I would propose then, having a portion of a meeting this spring would be a discussion of the stewardship activities and goals, and why not touch on the policy and economics goals too, since we clearly need to update those, and then generate a list like that one, and we could put it out to a non-binding vote just to see where people are, where preferences are, where people are coming from, and then we could use the meeting portion of our retreat if we're getting a significant number of folks coming to sort of finalize or reach consensus on that, with the idea of just updating those those sections, those charts in the plan.
I like that plan. Anyone else?
All right.
I do want to, Christopher and I were just talking, and I do want to emphasize how cool this Prudence Island trip is going to be. And I really, really hope that we get a good chunk of partners out there for the day. It's not just going to be us sitting in the room. We're going to go for tours. We're going to see all sorts of cool stuff. John Mitchell has done a lot of work thinking through like really awesome stuff we can do while we're out there. And it does give us the opportunity to utilize some of their space to finalize on the pieces of our strategic plan. So all in all, let's do it.
I also understand that that's the time of year when ticks are at their least active on Prudence Island.
100%. September is the month where ticks are at their lowest level of activity, according to our tick friend, Dr. Thomas Mather, and his Be Ready for Ticks program, which if you are interested, we have a link to his presentation from March on our website at the Land Trust Council.
Do we have a date for that September event?
We have two, it's the 15th and 16th, with the 16th being a rain date, I think, right, Christopher? Does that sound right?
Yep.
I don't have my calendar. And yeah, it's gonna take some effort in terms of like getting over there on the ferry. Do we have any boat friends? We had a couple boat friends we could
I could take 4 comfortably.
Okay. Four is a start. He's really excited. Like they have plans to get us in vans to move around the island, so we're not just right around the office area. We have the opportunity to get out with some of the biologists to see bird stuff. And there's an Audubon refuge, as Scott says in the chat, and it's an opportunity for us to meet the Prudence Island Conservancy Land Trust folks too. So there's just a lot of opportunity out there.
Well, work on getting a calendar invitation out just to get it on people's radar screens that way, and working on filling in the details. All right. Well, I will. We'll plan on talking some stewardship activities and strategic planning. At a one of the next couple of meetings, and go from there. But I think we can shift into partner updates. And if you've got an update, feel free to go ahead and share.
Christopher, I'm just going to jump in before I forget. So Nancy approached me, sent me an email the other day about the New England Forests and Rivers Fund, which is directly related to stewardship. I think that they do through U.S. Forest Service and Fish and Wildlife up to $500,000 grants for stewardship projects. I haven't taken a whole lot of time to dive in and really look at it because it wouldn't really fit necessarily with the Land Trust Council, but I wanted to share that link in the chat for any of your organizations that might be interested or could utilize the funding. So there's that up. Do you want me to just keep going on updates? Mark July 14th, 15th, and 16th off in your calendar for the the 19th Annual Land and Water Conservation Summit at URI. We are in the planning mode right now, Priscilla Dela Cruz and myself, and it's turning into a really nice looking couple day summit with lots of networking opportunities, including happy hour at Whalers after our full day event on the 15th, and meetings on the Thursday, and a social hour at Tilted Barn afterwards. So like we got stuff going on, everybody. It has everything you know and love from the last group of summits, and will also include a day of hikes and paddles on the Saturday, an opportunity to get out on the land and actually see what some of our conservation commissions, land trusts, and watershed groups are doing. So mark it on off.
Kate, do you know when you guys will be sharing a additional
so
program?
We're not quite there yet. We are in the middle of gathering our workshops currently. We do have a keynote and three panels that we are going to be advertising when we send out the registration, which should be at the end of next week. And then we will, in the next couple weeks, get that full description out. We just didn't want to do it with half the workshops. We want all of them together. But the three big topics are solar siting and forests, climate change and environmental justice, and land use. These seem to be what everyone is focused on and what we got in terms of responses to our survey. And we also have Loren Spears as our keynote, which is pretty awesome, to talk about traditional ecological knowledge, as well as they're moving their museum, the Tomahawk Museum, to URI. So it's sort of like perfect timing. But yeah, I don't think I have any other updates. I'm gonna stop now.
Thanks, Kate. Good updates there. Anybody else like to share updates?
I've got an update for RIFCO. We have our annual spring program coming up on May 7th. It's gonna be down in Richmond, so we're going down south. We usually have central or northern, so we'll go down south this time to Ken Mitchell's property on in the Wood River Junction area of town. Should be a good event.
Nice.
I have some. We're working on our rural development program, our RITA one. We have a webinar coming on April 28th, 11 o'clock. You can contact me about getting the link to it. We're advertising that program again with the Farm Bureau newsletter. We also advertise it in our regular newsletter that goes out dealing with energy. May 20th is the Aviathon. We're always looking for people that are willing to participate and be judges or help us. So please contact me if you're interested. May 24th, we're doing that Forestry for the Birds program with Christopher's group and RIFCO and a whole slew of other people. So that will be May 20th. Please contact myself, Christopher, about reserving a spot. We're also working on bringing back women owning woodlots. We have a virtual one scheduled now for June 7th. We're trying a different approach with this. We're doing it virtually. And myself and Fern and Joanne Pacheco will be doing this. We'll run one of the sessions from 5:30 to 7, and then repeat the session again, so if people could not make it. So we're hoping to start off on virtual and draw a group of names on it and go from there. And that's what we're doing.
Well, how are we doing for registrations for the forest?
I'm still at 4. Scott, if you could see if any of your people down at Audubon would be interested, that'd be great. And I think we'll just have to advertise it and run that gamble that happens usually the week before.
I can get that out to
Always.
the Woodland partnership list again.
So
Yeah.
that's on the 24th, right? You said
Yeah.
from 9 to 12:30.
Yes, we'll run indoor session and then go over to the Rifco Woodlot.
Cool.
And it has to run because we've reserved the location itself. There's really no rain day except for the field part.
And does NRCS, Christopher, have that as a field training?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, they will talk to some of their personnel, but it's not really right up their line for this. It's more of a different group of people.
Okay.
I mean, we could discuss it again with Chris and see if he has people on his staff that he thinks would want to do it, like Tamar and a couple others that not like Ashley, those with the forestry background.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's talk about bring that up at our meeting next Monday, Paul.
Yes.
Just on the topic of events, I've got a few on April 30th, just Saturday. I'm with Logan Johnson of the Forest Stewards Guild. I'm hosting a oak resiliency assessment tool that's geared towards sort of master woodland type of landowners. It's over at the Goodwin State Forest in eastern Connecticut. But Rifco landowners, conservation districts, if you have folks who might be interested in that and in getting together a group of landowners, I'll put the link to that in the chat. I'm really trying to roll out that tool on Friday, May 13th. For you forestry folks, the Yankee SAF is having we hope will be a big spring field meeting and tour the Ware River watershed in central Massachusetts. They have quite a lot going on. Pitch pine barren creation management. Looking at a oak research site. Pretty impressive slash wall. Deer and moose brow study. With a catered lunch. So hopefully, those of you who are SAF members have received notice of that. And then finally,
has that notice gone out, Christopher? I'm sorry for interrupting.
it did go out via constant contact email. And it would be great if somebody from Rhode Island SAF could send it out too. Who's
Yeah,
our
I
president?
don't remember seeing it, Wolf. Did you see
Yeah,
it?
I didn't get it either. I was just looking at my email because that's new news to me.
Well, we tried looking for it, and I don't know if you have promotions, or I don't know if it went into. It went out as a constant contact email. But
When did that go out? Recently?
Fairly recently, yes.
Okay, I wonder if is it going to be up on the NESAF website as an event or something?
It's there. The
Okay.
same. Would have come actually from them, but from me via the NESAF website.
Or maybe I can go, or maybe you could forward it to me or something, Christopher, if you've got it handy. And I can forward it to Rhode Island.
I mean, I don't take a look. You can take a look. I can get the word to you, but it would be you could maybe take a look in your email or
Yeah, it's not
search
bad.
on Yankee SAF. That would be helpful to know.
Okay.
But yeah, we're hoping to get a robust crew for that. And then finally, this is looking out a bit, but the Regional Conservation Partnership Network gathering they are going to have something in person again this year. Likely a somewhat different format from previous years, and they are soliciting or inviting proposals. In particular on the themes of climate resiliency and land justice. When the Forest Conservation Commission gets a little further along, I was thinking that the Forest Conservation Act and that project could be an interesting one to share with the group. And I'll there's a new website for the RCP network too that I'll put in the chat. So that's what I have, just a few events there. And I'll put the Yankee SAF meeting in there too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I have a quick Audubon update. To echo Kate's point about how important forests are, I don't have to tell all you, but we're involved in a collaborative effort to verify what they call PVPs, potential vernal pools, with DEM, Natural History Survey, EPA. Their focus right now at DEM is the Woodpawcatuck watershed, but we're testing the methods and the revised methodologies at Epley and Fisherville and Big River. So my staff and I have been going out assessing the big puddles at Epley, and we're going to move on to Fisherville next week. And it's been a lot of fun getting out and doing some real field work, emphasizing how important forests are. I mean, a good example is, if you guys know the sod farm in West Kingston across from the park, is that big puddle. That's actually a registered wetland. And
Oh.
it shows you it's not a functioning vernal pool. Doesn't satisfy any other criteria other than hydrology. So that depression used to be in a forest, most likely.
Huh.
But Tom Kutcher told me it's on some old wetland maps. So a good
Wild.
example of, take the trees away, you're not going to have frogs and salamanders and all
Yeah.
the other lovely critters.
I will say I've been so jealous watching those meetings happen, Scott. Like, I really want to come out in the field with you guys, but haven't been able
Yeah.
to swing it.
Oh, it's been great. The wood frogs are already hatching out, so it's getting a little harder to find the egg masses, but we do find the tadpoles. This past week, we had a big snapper turtle swim towards Mike, the guy I'm working with, Mike Cavalieri. Found painted turtles, lots of salamanders. One pool had 100 spotted salamander egg masses.
Wow.
So this is really encouraging, but once again, emphasizing what's amazing, as Mike said, is we know more about some planets than we do about vernal pools. Hard to believe in 2022. Sobering little lesson there.
Thanks, Scott.
Anybody else?
Kate, have you heard anything from Foster and their land trust board with the current economic events that are going on in our lovely little town here?
I have not.
Ah,
You want
The
to take this off? We can,
I'll talk to you later. Yeah.
please do. I'd like that very much. Thank you. Yeah, I know Linda's had a hard, she's got some stuff going on at home, and she's normally who I talk to, Linda Tibbet, so I have not been in the loop.
Do you have my phone number?
Put it in the chat.
I could provide an update because you brought up Foster's Land Trust. So I just spoke to Linda earlier today. It's Rhode Island. So we are starting our surveys in the next month for the Cooperative Agricultural Pest Survey. And I'm looking for sites that have oak and pine combined as a majority. And I did identify a site in Foster, which is what I'm working with Linda on. Hopefully, she seems busy, so trying to find a time to meet. But if anybody else knows of any property, and Scott Rurin, I'm sure I'll be contacting you because you usually have some pretty good spots. Thank you. And we also got some money to do a nursery and retail pest survey. And as most of you, I think, know, a lot of my focus is on spotted lanternfly. So I spent a lot of this winter doing a lot of education on SLF, and we're finding it's less of a forest pest in terms of trees. It's not a tree killer, but it is a huge understory issue. So it is still, as far as the forest ecosystem goes, an important pest. So with that funding that I got from nursery and retail, it's going to help me survey a lot of these places where we're importing nursery stock from possibly infested areas, and help us keep a little bit more of an eye on what's coming into our state. So hopefully that will be productive. And we also have that vineyard survey going on. So every survey I'm doing, I think, has a spotted lanternfly component in it. The other forest pests we're doing are pests of pine and spruce. And we're we always include something with oaks because we have trouble with oaks in Rhode Island. So I think we're doing the oak processionary moth as a oak pest this year. And that's about it for updates from agriculture.
Thanks, Cindy. You just reminded me that FEMC is looking for a new director. I'm not sure if they found one yet, but Jim Duncan has moved into another role with another organization. So that's another thing that's happening.
Hopefully, the projects sort of focused on southern New England, including the assessment of deer impact assessment methods, and trying to come up with a method that might be more broadly used. That'll keep rolling along, since I know that was of interest and wide applicability to those of us down here. Well, unless there are any further updates or announcements, we'll be shooting for our next meeting on Thursday, May 19th. Kate and I we're working on some ideas, may relate to to urban forestry once again, but we'll be in touch as soon as we figure that out.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep, thank you.
And so just as always, if have potential focal topics for future meetings, or we'll certainly want to do at least one sort of field trip meeting between now and Prudence Island. So open to suggestions for those as well.
And Mark, we should be in touch offline about the wood sector, making sure that we know how to get information or who to include in the outreach part for the farmer, forester, rancher, whatever.
Yeah, I'm curious, what exactly we would be sending out to these folks. And like I said, Fern has the
list.
I think Fern has a pretty good list of loggers' emails.
Yes,
Okay.
I have a huge list.
Okay, so internally, I'm on the marketing part of this on a subcommittee, and so we don't even really know yet. We're more trying to hone the message and figure out what exactly we're going to be sending to folks. So
I gotta tell you, some of these woodcutters I deal with, they're on the fringe.
Yeah.
You wonder from one month to the next if these guys are going to be working, if they're going to be.
I know.
They got mental health crises. They got, I mean,
Yeah.
substance abuse problems. So yeah.
I don't know if folks will take advantage of the opportunity, but it's so nice to know that it is available. Like I don't know.
I don't know how much the RIFCO sort of wood industry subcommittee is meeting these days, Mark, but it sounds like that would be a good way to try to make operators aware of it.
It's not like the committee meets.
Yeah.
Bob Verrier is our board member that is the wood industry guy. He's our linkage to these guys. So I think I'd like to bring him in on whatever discussions we have. What are we going to be sending out to these people? And
of course, and we want to make sure the message, I don't want to send it might not be the same messaging for the farmers as it is for the wood products or forestry industry. The thing is, I'm the only one in that group. So like, I want to make sure like the information is getting to them.
Okay.
I don't want it to be me who's trying to sort it out, honestly. So any input is helpful.
all right. Great.
Cool.
Great. Well, thanks so much, everyone. We'll look forward to seeing you next month.
All right.
Hope you get some time in the field out there.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.